The backyard was already glowing with soft golden light as the sun began to set, painting everything in warm shades of orange and pink. Colorful balloons swayed gently in the evening breeze, tied carefully along the white fence, while a small table stood in the center, decorated with a birthday cake that looked almost too perfect to cut. Everything was ready perfect. Even but Daniel felt anything but at ease. He adjusted the sleeves of his shirt for the third time in a minute, his eyes constantly drifting toward the gate. His daughter Lily sat on a small chair nearby, swinging her legs absent-mindedly. She clutched her favorite toy in her hand, her face filled with quiet anticipation rather than excitement. That hurt him more than anything. "Daddy," she said softly, looking up at him with wide, hopeful eyes. "Will she come this time?" The question hit him like a weight he could never fully lift. He forced a small smile, kneeling beside her. "Yes, sweetheart," he replied gently. "She'll be here, I promise." It wasn't a promise he was entirely sure he could keep, not in the way Lily imagined. But today, he had tried to fix something that had been broken for far too long. A few days ago, after Lily had tearfully asked why she didn't have a mother like the other kids at school, Daniel made a decision he never thought he would. He hired a woman to pretend to be Lily's mother just for one day, just for this birthday, just to give his daughter the happiness she deserved, even if it was built on something fragile. The sound of a car pulling up outside snapped him out of his thoughts. Lily's head turned instantly toward the gate, her eyes lighting up in a way Daniel hadn't seen in months. His heart tightened. The gate creaked open slowly, and a woman stepped inside. She wore a simple yet elegant dress, her expression calm but kind. For a brief moment, Daniel forgot this was all an arrangement. She didn't look like someone pretending. She looked like she belonged. "Hi," she said softly, her gaze moving from Daniel to Lily. Lily stood up immediately, hesitating for only a second before taking a small step forward. Are you my mom?" she asked, her voice trembling with hope. Daniel held his breath. The woman's expression softened in a way that seemed almost too real. She knelt down to Lily's level, her eyes warm and gentle. "For today," she said quietly, "I'm exactly who you need me to be." And in that moment, something shifted. Something none of them fully understood yet, but all of them felt. The party slowly came to life, but for Daniel, everything felt strangely quiet, like the world had softened around the edges. Laughter from a few neighborhood kids echoed in the background. Balloons bobbed gently in the breeze, and the birthday music played faintly from a speaker near the table. Yet his attention remained fixed on one thing: Lily and the woman he had hired. Her name was Sophie. He remembered that now, but the way Lily held her hand, the way she leaned into her side as they walked toward the cake, made the word fake feel almost insulting. "Look," Lily exclaimed, pointing proudly at the decorations. "Daddy did all this." Sophie smiled warmly, glancing at Daniel with something that looked less like politeness and more like admiration. "He did an amazing job," she said, her voice sincere. "You're very lucky." Daniel wasn't used to being seen like that. He gave a small nod, unsure how to respond. But something in his chest shifted, something unfamiliar, almost hopeful. As the party continued, Sophie didn't miss a single moment. She knelt beside Lily while opening gifts, clapped louder than anyone when Lily blew out her candles, and even wiped a bit of frosting from her cheek with gentle care. None of it looked forced. None of it looked rehearsed. At one point, Lily grabbed Sophie's hand tightly and pulled her toward a corner of the yard. Daniel watched from a distance, unable to hear their conversation, but he could see Lily talking animatedly, her small hands moving as she spoke. Sophie listening, smiling, even brushing Lily's hair back with a tenderness that made Daniel's throat tighten. Then Lily hugged her. It wasn't quick or playful. It was the kind of hug that came from somewhere deep, the kind a child gives when they've been missing something for a long time. Sophie froze for just a second, then slowly wrapped her arms around her, holding her just as tightly. Daniel looked away. He hadn't expected this. He thought today would be simple, just a harmless illusion to make his daughter smile. But now, it didn't feel harmless at all. It felt real, too real. Later, as the sun dipped lower and the sky darkened into soft twilight, Lily ran back toward him, her face glowing with happiness. "Daddy," she said breathlessly, "can she stay? Not just today, please." The question hit harder than anything before. Daniel looked over at Sophie, who stood quietly nearby, her expression no longer just kind, but conflicted, because now this wasn't just a job anymore, and all three of them knew it. The last of the guests had gone, and the backyard was quiet again. The balloons had started to lose their bounce. The cake sat half-finished on the table, and the soft glow of string lights cast gentle shadows across the lawn. It should have felt like the end of a perfect day, but for Daniel, it felt like the beginning of something complicated. Lily had fallen asleep on the couch inside, still wearing her pink dress, her small hand loosely clutching a ribbon from one of her gifts. A peaceful smile rested on her face, the kind he hadn't seen in a very long time. Sophie stood near the doorway, watching her. "She's incredible," she whispered. Daniel nodded, leaning against the wall. "She is." A brief silence passed between them, heavy with everything neither of them knew how to say. "I should go," Sophie said finally, though she didn't move. Daniel exhaled slowly. "Yeah, I guess you should." But neither of them believed it was that simple anymore. "She asked me to stay," Sophie added softly, her eyes still on Lily. "Kids don't usually say things like that unless they mean it." Daniel let out a quiet, almost helpless laugh. "She means everything she says. That's the problem." Sophie turned to look at him, then her expression more serious. "And what about you?" "What do you mean, Daniel?" "Because this," she gestured gently toward the house, toward Lily. "This isn't just about one day anymore." He didn't answer right away, because the truth was, he didn't know. He had hired her to play a role, to fill a space for a few hours. But somewhere between the laughter, the small moments, and the way Lily had looked at her, that space didn't feel temporary anymore. "I don't want to hurt her," he said quietly. "She's already lost enough." Sophie's voice softened. "Then, don't lie to her." The words landed with quiet weight. Daniel looked at his daughter, then back at Sophie. "And if the truth isn't enough?" Sophie stepped a little closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "Then, maybe we stop pretending and see what this really is." For the first time that day, Daniel didn't feel like he was trying to control the outcome. He just felt honest. He gave a small nod. "Stay." Not as her mom. Not yet. Just stay. Sophie smiled. This time, not as part of a role, but as herself. "Okay," she said gently. And in the quiet of that night, something real finally began.